Man, I watched this show now twice and the match. I see the ending, I understand where people are coming from. But there's a lot more to figure out than just that. Could have been executed better? Yes. But tonight's show, Blood and Guts, was it what it was? Well, let me say this. This show brought a pay-per-view worthy match in execution and a polarizing outlook in its conclusion. Let's go ahead and talk about the show, shall we? Hello, everybody. How are you? Hey, good evening, good morning, good night to whoever you may watch this. My name is Noah Foster, and I'm just a simple man and a lifelong fan of wrestling. And I'm here to give you my outlook and simple take on last night's episode of AEW Dynamite, Blood and Guts. It is currently 4:12 p.m. on Thursday, May the 6th. And again, I work as my work schedule allows me to. With that being said, let's go ahead and briefly look back, review, and preview what's to come too from AEW. So, last night's Blood and Guts special, by the way, with the largest live crowd attendance since I believe their New Year's show. Congrats to them of 1,500 people. Mad respect and outlook. Seems like we're finally slowing back to normal, getting back to normal slowly, folks. Maybe we'll finally be able to one day attend live wrestling safely without masks, freely, and be ourselves true and true, and not try to be robotic. Anyway, opening bout was Kenny Omega and MT Nakazawa. They took on the team of Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. Initially, it looked like it was going to be a handicap match, but Kenny Omega, always the thinking man, and Don Callis, of course, being the mouthpiece for him. Kenny Omega, of course, comes in with a sneak attack, gets the better of his opposition in the early going. But, of course, Kingston and Moxley, they bounced back rather quickly. And it looked like that Jon Moxley and Kingston, they had this match dead to rights. They were isolating MT Nakazawa until, via distraction, low blow, basically, put the match back in Kenny Omega and MT's Nakazawa's favor. By the way, they had the entire show based on the two-ring setup for Blood and Guts, where the matches alternated between the rings. But it was a nice touch. And yes, I'm aware that the first hour was previously recorded for the fans to watch live in attendance, while the only match the fans saw live there was Blood and Guts. But hey, it was on their ticket. And of course, us, the viewers from home, we got to catch the show as a whole as normal. Anyway, as this match kept going on, a ridiculous pile driver. And basically, Kenny Omega's like, I'm done. You know what? You do what you're going to do to Nakazawa. And it's like Kenny Omega was going to leave. Combination, lariat, overhead, full Nelson suplex gives Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston the win as Jon Moxley gets the pin on MT Nakazawa. But we weren't done there because afterwards, what happens? But the entire elite, the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks, come out for a post-match beatdown sneak attack, all being recorded by the young boy and private cameraman, Brandon Cutler. While it looked like one was wearing something out of a shower curtain, we got barefoot super kick party galore and a magic killer, and the elite sent in fact message about we are still top guys around here. Don't mess with us. Don't pick a fight that you can't win. Not much more to say about that. Anyway, as we go from there, oh yeah, by the way, it ended with a one-wing angel on Eddie Kingston with assisted elevation by, of course, the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks. Following that, we learn officially of our very first match for Double or Nothing. It's official, folks. Dr. Britt Baker, #1 ranked AEW DMD. Don't forget it. She will finally get an AEW Women's World Championship match at Double or Nothing against Hikaru Shida. Hikaru Shida, of course, who is out to make a promise to us and herself that she wants to defend this title in front of a full arena of people. And she still wants to be the dedicated champion, while Dr. Britt Baker has been protagonizing Shida later and been saying it all along. She is the face of AEW. She is the face of the women's division. Well, all she's missing right now is the belt to prove it. And literally in 24 days, it finally might become a reality. Again, she has been the strongest portrayed character and in-ring wrestler for the entire AEW women's division since the inauguration of AEW, it seems. People are saying pretty much it has to be for Baker's time. But if I know wrestling, nothing is guaranteed. And honestly, anything could happen. We'll see how the coming weeks go as we move forward. But before we talk more about the women and Britt Baker, who was in action, we go into a really competitive grudge match between the continuation of the bout with the Nightmare Family and the Factory, as Cody back with Arn Anderson. He took on QT Marshall, who had the entire factory in his corner. And things broke down kind of quickly. Initially, Cody wanted to use the weight belt, but referee was like, no, you can't do that. Kudos, by the way, to, I believe it was Bryce Grensberg. But then QT Marshall, he actually is able to use his weight belt, Cody Killer, because of all the arguing about. And things were kind of in QT's favor for the already going. As this escalated moving forward, we find the men on the outside of the ring, and QT gets the better and angers Arn Anderson to the point Arn Anderson gets physically involved and literally tries to, break QT's jaw and face along the ring post. This, of course, causes the ref to eject Arn Anderson from the ringside area, but also apparently the factory was ejected from the ringside area too. As this match kept going, at one point QT Marshall, he was literally firing from under, and it looked like Cody was going for a Kano roll through, sunset flip, but instead of bringing QT down, he brought QT's trunks down. Didn't need to see that. And basically from here, QT and Cody are going tit for tat, move for move, and it's a crossroads by QT that nearly gave QT the win. Not the same outlook or result as he got, of course, on AEW Dark. And as this match kept going, we got a ridiculous pile driver by Cody, who said he was done here. And I thought the match was over here, but QT survived. And as this kept going, literally these two just fighting like they personally hate each other. Talk about real emotions being showcased throughout this match too. Finally, Cody hits the crossroads, and Cody does not win the match. For the first time I can remember, Cody's crossroads has now been kicked out. And I know people are already saying, well, that kind of defeats the purpose of a finisher, right? Well, I don't think so when you think about how well these two know each other and how much respect I think QT earned that night from the unknowns that know him, let alone maybe underestimate him and don't realize how much of a wrestler he is. As QT eventually, though, he did have no point but to tap out to a figure four leg lock and what I thought was one hell of a grudge match. So my takeaways from this, first off, Cody, we already got blood here. He got busted up pretty in the early going. But QT Marshall and Cody, both leaders of their own like factions here, both exemplary wrestlers. This felt kind of like New Japan type storytelling, especially the fact the referee did not throw out the match or cause it a DQ with the outside interference, and the foreign object, etc., which I know people are also talking about. But if you want to escalate a story or push a wrestler forward, there has to be a point where a wrestler finds an opponent that can overcome his finisher and forces that wrestler to rethink strategy. Cody going back to amateur roots and literally ending QT with a submission. Now, how does this hurt the crossroads going forward? We'll have to wait and see. But I think it makes sense for QT to be the one to kick out of the crossroads with how well these two know each other and the fact that QT can execute this move himself. The one thing QT couldn't do during this match is a diamond cutter. So honestly, when I look at these matches before the main event, this was my favorite match. It felt personal. Both men really brought the fight. The story was there. And I think QT looked stronger in the end, especially after what happened following this as Cody was celebrating. Anthony Ogogo, he comes out with his UK flag and boom, he nails Cody once again with that golden right in the ribs, drops Cody where he stands, and then basically covers him with the flag of his nation, the United Kingdom. God save the Queen. So the way I see it is this. I think we're setting up an exhibition between Cody and Ogogo one-on-one, a match that has yet to happen as Tony Khan tries to keep matches fresh and avoid repetitive nature. But I also think about, could this be the first step towards what I think might be having a double or nothing, where we might have the Rosebergs and tag team action against the Factory. There are many different ways I see this going, but right now, as far as I'm concerned, this feud with these two factions is just getting started. But Cody and QT, tremendous singles outing. Anyway, as we move on from there, we find Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page way up in the Raptors, and they are being interviewed by Tony Schiavone, who are basically talking with them regarding what happened last week at the conclusion of AEW Dynamite, attacking Darby Allin and apparently injuring Sting. Sting is out of action for now. Scorpio Sky basically putting forward that Sting's time has passed. It's time for you to retire, bitch. And as Ethan, of course, all ego, gloating about this too, and talking about what he and Sky are, who comes out from a bat out of hell, it seems, but Darby Allin looking for his own piece of revenge and meat. He does get the better of the two in the early going until Scorpio Sky running up like a mammoth bashes the man's head in with a trash can. This is after Darby Allin did a coffin drop out of the way from one of the scaffoldings. And there's enough about here about concrete and steel steps, folks. But anyway, as this keeps moving forward, Darby Allin finds himself being tossed down a flight of concrete stairs, landing awkwardly on his elbow and shoulder. That looked horrific. But again, Darby Allin, reckless abandonment, and it's like the guy believes he's only 50% human. We'll have to see how this affects him going forward, especially being the TNT champion. And we know what his future is coming next week, too, as we learn later in the night. And again, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, I feel inevitably we're setting up Darby Allin and Sting versus Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page in a tag match. Could be an exhibition waiting to happen at Double or Nothing. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, as we move on from there, we go back to the ring for ringside action as Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, with Rebel, not Reba, on a crutch, still selling it. Like, okay, she's not injured, folks. Let's be honest here. But okay, the heelish cheerleader type thing, it's kind of hilarious, and the crutch goes with her shirt. Just go with it. She took on in a singles squash. Julia Hart, of course, showcase from the Nightmare Factory, showcase number 2. Super quick match here. Julia Hart barely got any offense in. She got Sling Blade, Air Raid Crash, and then got a lockjaw for her showing, first time ever on AEW Dynamite. As again, we look forward to the inevitable Women's Championship match, and we once again show that Britt Baker, she's confident, she's ready, as she ends this match with a smile. And basically, we just look and see now how Shida responds to this. When I think about this show, blending guts and what each of these matches basically try to exemplify in one of those 2 words. I mean, we already got bloody guts from QT Marshall and Cody, just saying. I thought that the women match here was kind of a necessary spot on this card, particularly, only because I feel like they need to give more time in showcasing to the women. If you're going to build your number 1 ranked wrestler / challenger to the champion, maybe this week it should have been more like a promo, what she's been doing, what she's been saying, maybe another rule as a role model, or maybe at least try and find a way to give her a bit more of a competition, you know, to prove her point. But I guess the dominant little squash is okay. But this just felt kind of weird and out of place for me. When I think about Dr. Britt Baker in a wrestling match, I don't think about squashes. I think about classics. And I was hoping for a little more here, but also Julia Hart, who is still very young in the game. I'm glad she got the opportunity to showcase on live television, so maybe people will at least remember her name. But overall, I just felt this was a little weird, to say the least. Kind of wanted more. I kind of wish Shida showed up and Britt Baker continued the attack. Shida came in for the save, thus building that animosity between these two. Because we both know Shida and Britt have nothing but vinegar against each other. Just saying. Anyway, moving on from there, we now go into Techniques by Taz. He was trying to talk about the kill switch, of course, and the Spirit of Christian Cage, which quickly turned into more so a homage, message, and a reminder about what Team Taz brings in the likes of Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Will Hobbs, and the Machine Brian Cage, who of course recently just beat the number 1 wrestler, Hangman Page, last week. I feel this just continues escalates the rivalry with Hangman Page, Christian Cage, and Team Taz. Again, I see exhibition singles, maybe tags happening here, but Team Taz, of course, being put forward by Taz himself, especially Brian Cage, who right now I gotta imagine has some real hot big match waiting for him, despite the fact he still has the FTW title that Taz wants to bring up and kind of feels out of place here. There wasn't much more to say about this segment, but I think it just basically goes to show and talk about what's being said when Team Taz talks about his team of assassins, and under his tutelage, mentorship, and leadership, they are in good hands. So Christian Cage, what are you talking about? I think that's what Taz is basically trying to put over here. But overall, good stuff. Curious where this all goes with Team Taz, Christian Cage, and Hangman Adam Page. Anyway, as we move forward, we go into our 4-way tag team eliminator. Wait a second. It was not tag team eliminator as we saw in this match, but it was still the same qualification. The winner of this match would face the Young Bucks next week for the AEW Tag Team Championships. And overall, this match, it was okay. Luchasaurus looking the very strongest out of all 8 men here, literally dominating the field. I thought at one point Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus were going to get the win here until SCU, proven once again they're all enough vendetta, win as a team or we're done as SCU. They're through. They finally got what they wanted in the end. The best moves ever, the BME, it got it done. The biggest other takeaway from this match is that burn of a mixed line, mic drop, by Max Caster regarding Brian Pillman Jr. and, of course, his family and Dark Side of the Ring. Jeez, man, that was harsh. How about making it personal? First time actually Max Caster's freeform wild style actually had some real merit and value to it and reaction time. You could tell the crowd reacted to that too. Anyway, the BME cover and SU, they won this match, covering, of course, one part of the Varsity Blondes. And now SU has an AEW World Tag Team Championship match waiting for them next week on what is really a stat championship showcase of AEW Dynamite. Again, the Acclaim, they were not pinned here. Varsity Blondes kind of hurts the momentum, I think, a little bit. And Jurassic Express, I feel like, came out still the strongest, especially with Luchasaurus literally at one point choke bombing people on top of each other with the follow-up moonsault and tail kick, and everybody teaming up to take out Luchasaurus. This was good stuff, and again, it shows AEW's greatest strength, tag team wrestling. It wasn't bad, but I am kind of curious, and I kind of see why I do at the time. Why would you still have this match booked as Eliminator and, like, not tell us in advance? It just seems weird to me. And the thing I was thinking about with SCU and their, vendetta against each other, I thought this was going to be the match to come at Double or Nothing. Apparently, I was wrong. So we still don't know what's to wait Double or Nothing, but they were tag team champions. Maybe next week will give us more of an outlook. But speaking of Double or Nothing, well, let me first talk about this because I love the way they showcased, hyped, and respected New Japan Pro Wrestling and its title. As Blue Justice, Yuji Nagata, he will be next week live on Dynamite taking on Jon Moxley for the IWGP United States Championship. And basically, Jon Moxley said he is out here big game hunting. This is not about respect. This is about the gold. But Blue Justice bringing that attitude of never say never. This was a tremendous way to showcase who the man that many people may have forgotten, not even know, Yuji Nagata is. And we also will see him in tag action, of course, in NJPW Strong this Friday. I cannot be more excited for this IWGP United States Championship match to come next week. Again, this match, no respect, just fists. Blue Justice versus Death Rider. Who leaves with the gold? You kind of got to wonder who can take the IWGP United States Championship from Jon Moxley and continue to run with it here in America, where clearly this is the title to represent New Japan of America. So again, we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, before we move on to our main event, Blood and Guts, which was the only match left, we learn also now who is next for Kenny Omega and to challenge him for his AEW, particularly World Heavyweight Championship at Double or Nothing, while Nakazawa, of course, came out with the collector's possessions. I find it kind of weird that he was wearing the TNA World Heavyweight Championship and Impact Championship, but I digress. Anyway, as Kenny Omega came out here and hyped the 1,500 people, that sounded like a full stadium of people, like 10,000 plus, literally hyping up tonight's Blood and Guts. Everyone's excited except for me, and literally wondering who his opponent is. Just say it, just want to hear it. Literally, Tony Schiavone breaks it down. Next week, we will have a number one contenders, basically a eliminator match between rank 1 and rank 2. Number 2, the Bastard Pac, which Omega recognizes, give high praises for. Sure to be a classic again if you want to see. And number 1 ranked, take it in, folks. Number 1 ranked, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. You talk about a way to really, really, really put over somebody that nobody takes seriously whatsoever. And of course, Kenny Omega literally writing off Orange Cassidy as an afterthought, not even being a man, but a boy in a man's world. This was a passionate, fiery promo as Orange Cassidy literally did nothing but stood there and just took it all in. And of course, Kenny Omega talking about, you ripped off the Shade style from me, literally collecting something of Orange Cassidy for wasting his time. He took his shades and put them on MT Nakazawa. And Nakazawa shades, nah, doesn't work. And basically writes him off. But in a way, he also says, I'll see you whenever, whatever. And I think we know both those things to come too. As 1,500 people literally cheered the hell out of Orange Cassidy, who did, again, just stood there and said and did absolutely nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or not, Orange Cassidy is over. And I feel the inevitable is waiting for us. An AEW Revolution rematch next week to determine Double or Nothing, I think we're getting Kenny Omega versus Presley Squeeze. And I cannot wait to see how the internet reacts to all of this with boos or pleas. Personally, I am super excited. Orange Cassidy, the thing in wrestling you thought you never needed, or the thing in wrestling you thought that never would succeed, or actually be a thing. Well, there you go. A very emphatic promo by Kenny Omega, hyping up not only next week's match, but basically challenging the character, the wrestler that is Orange Cassidy. Show me what you got, and eventually we'll meet. Well, next week, that might become a reality. Anyway, as we move forward from there, we go into, oh, wait, hold on. We also hear from the boss man, Miro. And Miro basically says he is here to achieve his destiny. Nothing will stop him. Nothing will stand in his way. He comes out with a folded paper, and it's a contract that next week it's official. The champion, you have been served. Next week, Miro will challenge Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. And Darby Allin, he basically says, you show up and fight. I will not take forfeit, even though the contract circumstances says that if he doesn't show up, I get the title. Miro is out dead focused for one thing, and that is championship gold. And what could be Darby Allin's toughest match to date in AEW. When you figure out all the matches that Darby Allin has had against people for the TNT Championship, they've been of similar size, maybe slightly stronger stature, maybe more powerful, but Miro might be the most dangerous force to date to stand in front of Orange Cassidy in this TNT title reign. I'm still look forward to maybe Stu Grayson challenging for the TNT title, for example, but I feel that Darby Allin's time might be up next week as far as TNT title goes, especially if the Darby Allin storyline is going in the direction, I think, one way or another, a tag match against Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, because again, Darby Allin is not going to be 100% come next week after that bump, folks. Speaking of next week, it is a stacked showcase next week. Let me run down the card for you. We got Orange Cassidy versus Pac, and the winner faces Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing for the AEW World Championship. We got Miro versus Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. SCU takes on the Young Bucks for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And then we got, of course, Jay Cargill will be interviewed. And we also have Jon Moxley versus Yuji Nagata for the IWGP United States Championship. It is a stacked championship showcase next week. Going to be absolutely insane. But speaking of insane, you want to talk about something insane. This match truly was something that was pay-per-view worthy. And despite the fact we're dealing with live television and advertisements and how you believe the finish should have been executed, you cannot argue that this match delivered what it was called. And that was blood and guts. So let's see here. Blood and guts, of course, started with 2 men for a 5-minute interval. And then every 2 minutes, alternate members came into the ring. Literally 2 refs had the keys to the cage that was fully enclosed. No exposed roof, by the way. And literally the match didn't truly begin until all 10 men were in the ring. And the only way to win was by submission or surrender. So here we go. It started off with Sammy Guevara and Dax with a 5-minute clinic. And at one point, Dax literally is the first man to bleed, busted wide open. But instincts, they were going literally for a pinfall during this time, because again, that's Dax Harwood style, just know. By the way, I love the fact that Pinnacle came out in like all white gear, while the Inner Circle came out in all black gear, literally looking like inmates trying to run the asylum. Respect. Talk about 2 totally different polarizing outlooks of families. Anyway, as the inmates are waiting to be unleashed, in comes the next person that garnered the advantage, of course, via Sammy's words, to pick out the advantage. But the chairman, Sean Spears, who came in with a chair and like euphoria, threw that chair over Sammy Guevara's head and busted that man wide open. And then following this, as the Pinnacle were in control, Ortiz comes into play, introduces a chair of his own, throws it straight into Sean Spears' face. Hello. At one point, I think during this time, it looked like Sammy Guevara might have really sustained an injury, was a bit disoriented, and looked a little bit loopy from his movements. But following this ridiculous Spanish fly out of nowhere, as Ortiz once again helps the Inner Circle now balance his things. It's 2-on-2, becomes 3-on-2, because here comes the other half of FTR, Cash Wheeler, FTR in full force, and a ridiculous brain buster at one point. Gory special face first to the cage, and literally at one point we find Ortiz slid between the ring and the cage at the very bottom. This match was downright physical and brutal. As they move forward, Santana comes in, probably in full force, and again, he said he let his fist speak for him. Boy, did he. Ridiculous Uranagi that send one member of the Pinnacle planted into the ring, and as again, Inner Circle took control, in came the muscle, the heavy for the Pinnacle, Wardlow. And Wardlow came in here like a one-man wrecking crew. And this was also during the picture-in-picture, folks. And let me just say this. Picture-in-picture is one of those things I feel like that more so is not just for marketing purposes, but to demonstrate something. Nobody pays attention to picture-in-picture. We all think it sucks. We all think it's unnecessary. Honestly, we might think that this was better off commercial-free, but I can only imagine how much that would cost with marketing and stuff like that. It makes me wonder why he didn't do that. Or maybe just less commercials, like just one commercial maybe overall during this. Well, that didn't happen. But I will say this, for once, I actually cared about what happened during picture-in-picture because it showed who came out, it showed who was in control, and it wasn't like the action fairly slowed down, even though they were aware it was commercial break, but action still kept on. As everybody, there was so much bloodshed throughout this match, it was ridiculous. And then Jake Hager comes in, and everyone's about to hurt, literally locks somebody into an ankle lock, but again, tap out doesn't matter, get the match fully on. As we look and see, sorry, technical difficulties and family had to pause the recording. As we look and see what was happening here, the two powerhouses finally were duking it out. One-on-one, everybody else was down. Hager and Wardlow were going at it. And then finally, the last man of the Pinnacle, MJF, he comes into play with the heaviest of realistic boos I have heard in a long time on a professional wrestling show. God, I love authentic crowd noise. Keyword real. And literally, there's just broken bodies, bloodshed. People got tore up hard way in this match, for real, folks. And then as MJF and the Pinnacle were basically coming back into control here, Chris Jericho finally comes in, the leader of the Inner Circle. And basically, the inmates run the asylum for a good portion of this match, as everybody by the Pinnacle were being destroyed by everyone in the Inner Circle. Spears being choked out on a trust at one point by Chris Jericho, literally being choked by the actual parts of the structure in the dead middle. And then we have exposed ring being shown off and a double pile driver on FTR by Powerful, assisted by Sammy Guevara. FTR were freaking down and out. And then Sammy Guevara bleeding and still delusional, as obviously we could see. A coast-to-coast picture perfect to Sean Spears, hung up in the tree of woe in the corner, and then exposed turnbuckle into the face of MJF. Now he's bleeding like a sieve, and I kid you not, I'm not censoring myself. I cannot make this up. MJF got forked up. You heard me right. MJF got forked in the head by one half of Proud and Powerful, who literally brought a fork into the ring. I cannot believe this. And then MJF basically was KO'd after this point with a stiff shot by Chris Jericho. And literally, Sammy was sent into the roof of the two-cage structure by Wardlow. When Wardlow came back into play, literally a one-man wrecking crew taking on an army with no fear, as the Inner Circle literally took him down part by part by part, and the Inner Circle was dominating this incredible fucking match. As the Inner Circle was firmly controlled, Tully Blanchard, he basically was like, to hell with this, knocked out the referee, wasn't Aubrey. Damn sure, I bet you he'd never try that against Aubrey. And literally, Tully Blanchard, he finds a way to open the cage, allowing MJF to escape. But again, matches end like that. It has to be surrender or submission. As MJF escapes, he finds his way up to the top, while Tully almost denies someone else escaping. Jericho stops that dead in its tracks, though, literally sending the cage into his freaking face. And next thing you know, we have Jericho and MJF on top of this. And I'm like, oh, Lord, are we getting King of the Ring 1998 Hell in a Cell revisited all over again? Anyway, Jericho and MJF, they are on the roof here, and as Jericho locked in the Lion Tamer, dreaded low blow by MJF, and then the Salt of the Earth, which are arm bars locked in by MJF, neither man refusing to submit or surrender. And MJF at this point, he basically went full on maniacal and was destroying Jericho and his arm, literally trying to bite a piece out of Jericho's arm at one point. And then finally gets the ring, the 42K diamond ring, and nails Jericho in the head. Jericho's busted wide open, unconscious, and MJF was basically going to force Inner Circle's hand as he looked down through the cage, all the bodies, and literally said, "You guys surrender or I am going to throw him off." MJF willing to do absolutely anything to win this match and Jericho and take what he believes is rightfully his. And as this continued, what a sense of just irony when you have the guy that said he would go in here, fight everybody, go in here first, really gives the advantage to Pinnacle. At one point, literally saying he hates Jericho, only to be the guy from episode 1 brought in first Inner Circle by Jericho, Mean Keens, the Sex Gods, whatever the hell you want to name it. It is Sammy Guevara himself who literally says, "We surrender." And ladies and gentlemen, the Pinnacle has won the first ever Blood and Guts match and has solidified themselves as the survivors, and in this case, the better family. As MJF, you think, would be satisfied by that, he was not, as we did see Jericho take a fall from destiny from the top of the cage through the stage. And that was the final segment of the night as he yelled from above, "Thank you," and literally stood there, blood-scarred, crimson mask and all, the leader now of AEW, and on top of the world as the Pinnacle. And there you go, folks. And that was Blood and Guts, as Inner Circle, of course, went to their fallen leader to see, my God, is he okay? And literally, I just have to say this. That match was truly a match to remember, an incredible, phenomenal match, worth the build and the hype. Though it had a questionable conclusion due to the camera angles, if they stuck with a wide shot, I think it would have been as much tongue lashing. We also got to consider this. Jericho is 50 years old. Jericho is a heavy influence in the direction of AEW, and clearly he had heavy influence on this ending. Some of them look at Lion King, and I'm saying Long Live the King, where Mufasa got thrown off of the cliff by freaking Scar into a herd of rampaging wildebeest down below and basically was dead. That's kind of the visual you got here. But I get it, it looks soft, the match is blah, 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 blah. Whatever. It's poor execution, I get that, but that should not be the only thing you take away from this, nor should it be the one thing you remember. The bottom line is this: Blood and Guts delivered on what it was going to be, what it was built to be, and what it said it was to be, as we had 10 men permanently scarred and changed from this forever, and blood was shed the hard way by all these men. This was an absolutely phenomenal freaking match. And what a tremendous show, practically top to bottom, furthering investment in professional wrestling, not just in AEW, but also to hype a little bit of what could come at Double or Nothing as well. And with that being said, that was it for the show as we end with the Pinnacle's theme playing and MJF standing on top. The dominant, proud, once and for all leader of AEW in his mind. He claimed Jericho's spot. And he did say what he was going to say to Jericho when it was done too. He said, "Thank you." Holy hell, though. You got to imagine this. When the Inner Circle comes back from this and regroup, especially Jericho, you can only imagine what direction this is going to go towards now. Taking on the Pinnacle and MJF alone. But there's a reason why the Inner Circle has been a mainstream part of AEW since episode 1. And it still holds up to this day. Absolutely incredibly insane match. And I cannot wait for next week. So, bottom line is this. I thought Blood and Guts was worthy of basically like it being an old freeform type pay-per-view. I think it really would have helped if we didn't have the picture-in-picture, especially during the Blood and Guts match. Maybe give a little more follow-up or foreshadowing towards the women's title match, but I'm sure they'll try and do that in the weeks to come. And kudos to Julia Hart getting the moment. Personal grudge was great with Cody and QT. 8-way tag was all right, and the Elite, they continue to roll and dominate. But I gotta wonder how Eddie Kingston and John Moxley will answer from this. And we got a hell of an endorsement for Orange Cassidy from this too. I think that's going to foreshadow events to come as well. So again, I thought the show was really good. It wasn't perfect because again, it's never perfect. And when you look past the close range and angle, I feel like it would have been better if they did like a POV of literally Jericho's back as he's being pushed off the cage, falling, and we just hear the smash. If it wasn't for the close range thing, I think people would be a lot more civil towards what happened at the end here. But I thought this was an absolutely tremendous show, tremendous main event. And again, the ending angle, it would have been worked better if it wasn't for the close range. That's all I got to say about that. But thank you, Jericho. Wow. Well, that being said, folks, what are your thoughts to AEW Dynamite? Let me know in the comments down below or look me up on Twitter. If you want to know more about me, know this. I'm just a simple man and a lifelong fan of ... wrestling in all of its forms. So follow me on Twitter and Foster1916, Instagram and Foster1916, or look up in Foster1916 on YouTube. You'll find this channel. Otherwise, youtube.com/C/no Foster10 for all things wrestling. And shout out to AEW Family on Twitter. When I reach another subscriber milestone, I will unleash an unrestricted, unfiltered, uncensored, unedited post discussion of this blood and guts with my ATW sauce hybrid Zoom crew. But that will be to come. There will be ATW views in the future. We will be trying to reboot the sauce in some form, so stay tuned for more on that. And there will be, of course, continued coverages of simple takes and maybe predictions going forward with pay-per-views too on everything, including but not limited to NWA, AEW, NJPW, NXT UK, NXT, and other stuff as well. And AEW, of course, the forefront too. And I'll definitely be back next week to give you, of course, Elevation, Dark, and Dynamite in that order. As always, I like to close. There are no winners, there are no losers, there are no bears. They're just fans with opinions with this passion we all share. At the end of the day, support one another, respect each other, just enjoy life, and enjoy wrestling. Simple as that. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment, tell a friend. Hit the bell notification on this channel. Hit the subscribe button. I'm going to keep growing this channel. So to total 201 views. Going to be on this fun YouTube crazy journey. It's not been anytime soon. In the meantime, I gotta get ready for Impact Wrestling, and I'll be back tomorrow with a review of either that and or NXT UK too. So until next time, take care, enjoy life. Tomorrow's never guaranteed. Treasure your families and enjoy wrestling. There's never been a more opportunistic and optimistic time to be a wrestling fan. As always, I like to do the Kenny Omega thing, but I think I'm just gonna keep it simple here when I just tell you this. Until tomorrow, wherever wrestling may bring you, I hope you find a way to bring positive vibes to your life through it or some other matter too. Take care, and I'll see you next time for another AEW Simple Take / review, or something else in between too. Thanks for watching.